delivery with the community's needs and expectations is one of the toughest challenges we all face. So for the next hour, we've designed a practical session to provide you with the insights you need to navigate this complex area. We'll be diving into defining level of service, maintenance and costs, community relations. To guide us through these critical areas, I'm really pleased to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Phil McMurray. Phil's a highly respected local government engineer and former general manager, well known for his deep expertise in infrastructure and financial reform. We're really lucky to have you here today, Phil, to share your insights with us. So let's get started. Phil, I'll hand the floor over to you.
Thanks, Alana, and very, very pleased to be on air with everyone. I hope what I've got to say may help. I've known Joseph Drew for quite a number of years. He went on the demerger journey with me and my council, and I've spent a lot of time with him looking at financial sustainability of past councils and former councils and councils moving forward if they're to be demerged. And I guess that's given me a good insight into the holistic the way councils work. I've been in local government for over 30 years. I started off in a small country council, Burrawa, New South Wales, which had a population of 2,500 and 4,000 in the Shire. And that's where I cut my teeth as a young engineer, doing all the survey, design, construction management and the like. And then I guess then applied my trade in some of the bigger councils in Sydney, including Liverpool City and the Hills Shire, where you're a lot more, I guess, focused on. Stephen's got his hand up.
Yeah. Philip, could you ask everyone else to turn their microphones off, please?
Yeah, I think everyone's heard that request. What I found about working in the bigger Sydney councils was you're a lot more specialised and you're pigeonholed into specialist areas, and you don't have that, I guess, breadth of being able to dive in and being a generalist engineer that you do in a rural council environment. I think there's advantages to that, and I think actually roadworks in particular, if you've got a full handle on it from start to finish, from the original, application of a grant to doing the survey yourself, the design yourself, the construction of it with your crews, and that you get a lot more job satisfaction, and you get to understand, best practice and how all things work. Whereas I think you're a little bit pigeonholed in the bigger councils. So there's a lot to be said about working in rural environments. I took up a role, I left Sydney after about 12 years and took up a role as the Director of Engineering at Gundagai Shire Council in New South Wales, where again, I guess I was responsible for managing all the, critical infrastructure such as roads, etc., and delivering programs of works and the like for a small rural community. So I've got a pretty good handle on the rural environment, which you guys obviously are part of. And I hope my presentation gives you a bit of insight into some of the things, in regard to roads. I put a lot of pictures and the like in my presentation. So I guess it's a bit of a jogger for anyone that wants to ask questions or doesn't understand the terminology or, what things look like and that sort of thing. So please stop, ask questions at any stage. And at the end, I guess, once you've seen the presentation, I'll open up for questions, because it's probably easier to just answer questions that you might have. I actually don't know what you want to hear and what you know and what you don't know. So take the advantage of, asking questions at the end, and we'll see what we can come up with. Can you see my presentation? How's that? Can someone respond?
Yeah, got it now.
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's just loaded. Thanks, Phil.
Excellent. So at the moment, I work as a major projects project manager for Snowy Valleys Council in New South Wales. The picture on the screen is the main street of Tumut, which is the largest town in the Snowy Valleys Council area. My focus is probably not on roads maintenance, but I'm giving a presentation about it. I'm more into large project delivery at the moment. So one of the projects I'm managing is a $13 million multi-purpose sports stadium and evacuation centre, which council was lucky enough to get grant funding from the federal and state governments after the major bushfires ripped through this particular area of the country. So I've got that under construction at the moment. And likewise, I've dealt with major projects for the last couple of years, particularly in Wagga Wagga City Council, which I've got a lot of photos that sort of reflect some of the road networks at Wagga. But certainly, Snowy Valleys Place is a good place to work, and I appreciate that they've given me the time to put the presentation together and present it today. The purpose of the webinar, I guess the board of your organisation set the webinar up to provide some practical advice on road maintenance, but particularly they wanted me to touch on levels of service, grading and sealing, cost of sealing, cost of construction, the importance of drainage, and the importance of maintenance and managing community expectations. So that's where we'll begin. It's probably obvious, but travel and transport plays a key role in everything we do, particularly in our areas where we rely on the transportation network. The public rely on it to go about their daily lives, and I think everyone would agree it's a critical asset, and thus we have to maintain and keep on top of that asset as a high priority. Combating failures and other defects is a high priority, not only for economic and traffic management impacts, but also the safety aspects. You know, you leave a road, go into disrepair, and it can cause a fatal or serious injury. So we've got to make sure that we keep our eye on it and manage this asset effectively. Levels of service. I guess the question there is, most local governments approach the replacement and renewal of assets probably not on a consistent basis, and it all depends on where you are, what networks you're looking after, how much income you got coming in. So there's not a one size fits all, but there's some best practice principles that I think I'll touch on that you should be aware of in your particular areas. Roads are a dynamic asset, and I say that in the fact that it's highly affected by the environment. Wet and cold and dry conditions can make an absolute mess of a road environment with little time. So you might be on top of your road network, and then all of a sudden you get major rain and flooding events, and your asset can deteriorate really quickly, and it can cost significant money to bring it back into repair. So it is certainly a dynamic asset. Generally, from a financial perspective, council roads are consumed at a higher rate than we're renewing them. That's no surprise. We just don't have the money to be able to keep on top of the depreciation, and hence our assets are probably across most council areas deteriorating, which isn't a good thing, but we need to ensure that we, I guess, look after them as best we can, so we don't get ourselves into a pickle where we're I guess, having to chase millions and millions of dollars, which we don't have. What we do manage is the liability associated with them by looking at, maintaining our roads and following our asset management plans and making sure that, that there's no risk there. But certainly, I think everyone would agree that there's reputational risk and financial risk associated with not maintaining roads effectively. What I included there in the slide on the left-hand side is a very small version of of some data that's available through the Office of Local Government. Every year in October, council engineers are required to put in the National Local Roads Data Return Forms, which I guess sets out what expenditure you have on all your asset classes, including roads, and I guess it's a good spot to go and look and compare of how your councils compare against similar size councils, and particularly rural councils are grouped together. So you can go in there and see how much money you're investing for the amount of road kilometres that you've got. Road hierarchies. I guess most rural councils generally categorise their roads as either state, regional or local roads. State roads are, I guess, generally maintained by the state in New South Wales, Transport for New South Wales, or they do it under a contract to councils. So all the money flows from state government. Likewise, regional roads, they're generally under the care and control of the council, but are topped up with funding from the state government. Because of the prevalence of regional roads joining towns, I guess, and cities across the country. And local roads are the remit of the local government area themselves. On the left-hand side, you see the road hierarchy that is in place for Wagga City Council, which is the last council I worked in. Wagga's road hierarchy is made up of regional roads, sub-arterial road, collector, major, local, laneways, urban roads. I guess they do that through their built form city areas, so you can see the roads that sort of network around their particular city. But generally, rural councils keep it a little bit simpler. Councils carry out proactive network surveillance using a road network inspection, and their surveillance methods help councils determine the priority for maintaining programs. For example, you might on your councils have reseal programs, crack sealing programs, renewal programs. So you're probably dealing with budgets where you've got pavement rehabilitation, heavy patching programs, gravel reshedding and the like. We're going to go into a little bit of detail about what all that means, but generally those types of programs are funded probably not a lot from the limited rates resources that we have, but it comes mainly from recurrent funding that we receive from state and federal government, and obviously non-recurrent grants. And there's a few that I've sort of put up on the screen there. So our hierarchy of roads, we classify everything. Obviously, roads with a higher prevalence tend to get more funding opportunities because they're carrying more traffic and are seen as a higher priority asset. In terms of asset management, under the accounting guidelines, we're required to assess the condition of our road network every 3 to 5 years, and we do that by engaging contractors come in and do some laser scanning, or we do visual network surveillance on our assets. And once we have that data and we validate that data, we put it into asset management systems. All that asset data allows you to rank the condition of the road. And in New South Wales, we use a condition rating, fairly simple, 1 to 5, where 1 being the absolute best, a new asset, whereas 5 is an asset that's crumbling away on you and needs urgent attention, and likewise in between. A 3 would require a reseal. An excellent condition rating requires no work. 2, you're keeping an eye on things, doing some minor maintenance, and as they get into 4s and 5s, they're definitely on your replacement programs. That's how we do it, but there's a lot of engineering judgment goes into it. You go out and get the data, but you've got to validate it, and that's what your engineers do behind the scenes. Then they put works programs into your long-term financial plan based on the your intervention level, and generally you intervene when something hits a condition 4. And likewise, you put them through on a list. Sometimes you don't have the available funding, and therefore they go into future works programs. But that's generally how road asset management works in most rural councils. Frequency of grading. Grading is, I guess, a way of maintaining your gravel road network. Principally, you're doing grading to correct shape. Assets, whether they be bitumen or gravel roads, are highly impacted by the weather. In summer, heat bakes out pavements, particularly gravel road pavements, and it ruts and ravels, and the fines come out of the top part of the surface, and the shape of the road loses its original formation shape. Hence, you get all that loose material, and then potholing starts to occur. During the winter months, when you've got ruts and holes, water can't drain away, and hence they sit in those ruts, and then they deteriorate all the pavement that's underneath it, causing roads to fail. So the key to success in maintaining gravel roads is to make sure that you regularly grade them and get that shape correction back into them. In terms of sealing, again, weather plays a significant part. During the hot summers, bitumen oxidizes and starts to become a little bit brittle, and hence then cracks can form in your pavement. Once water gets in, the idea of a bitumen seal over a pavement is to completely waterproof it. As soon as you've got a gap that allows water into it, it weakens the pavement underneath, and potholes start to form. So during the winter months, water ingress into the pavement, I guess, exacerbates that. You get crocodile cracking. You can see the bottom left of your screen is what we typically call crocodile cracking. So it starts to lose its shape, and that's where your failures sort of start at. The success of bitumen seals lies in getting to those cracks straight away, so doing some crack sealing activity, or placing a new wearing course over the top, which is your bitumen resealing programs. So the idea is to make those pavements watertight. Once those pavements have failed, you've got to get in there and do your resealing and your crack sealing to make sure that the water doesn't get in and damage the pavements any further. The costs of grading. These are broad brush, and there's lots of factors that contribute to the costs, but generally you'll find that doing maintenance grading is fairly cheap. It's about $2,000 per kilometre, and that's based on having a grader, roller and water cart, and they can generally achieve about 3 kilometres a day, so you can get quite a lot of work done with a small crew. What I would say is, in the past, lots of councils have probably gone down the track of sending graders out to do rural road maintenance without any water and compaction equipment with them. What I've found over the years is it gives a false economy. You get a cheap job done quick, but the road doesn't stand the test of time. If you take a roller and water cart with you and put it down properly, the road's likely to last 5 times as long as what you would do if you just, stirring up the bull dust with just a grader. So having your processes right is critical. Gravel resheeting will be required probably every 12 years. So eventually the material wears down over time and loses all of its fines. So you've got to resheet, and that's about $60,000 per kilometre. My costs are based on, one of the questions has come up in the chat. My costs are just based on a little bit of experience. They're approximations, and it's pretty hard to come up with a national cost structure. There are some, I guess, estimators that probably have those types of costs, in their annual books and that they put out. But the costs that I'm putting up today are just the costs that I've been exposed to when I've done contract work around my particular council. So no national costs, just known costs that I've been dealing with at a practical level. Cost of sealing, single coat seal costs approximately $12 a square metre. And a double coat seal, which is a spray seal with a stone and then another spray seal over the top of that with a smaller stone to then lock up the voids. It gives you a better finish, costs about $18 a square metre. Now, if you have a typical rural road with a kilometre length, approximately 8 metres wide, that gives you a sealing cost of about $96,000 for a kilometre section. Which is, I guess, when we talk about the cost of construction, if you let your bitumen seals take water in and your pavement fails, I guess my key message is the cost to repair a road from scratch to replace the pavement underneath, as opposed to just doing the resealing, which buys you another 12 years of useful life, you're probably going to pay at least 10 times the cost of a reseal, or $1 million per kilometre. So my advice to any councillors and general managers is, if you're looking to cull road programs, stay away from your reselling programs, because your reselling programs are a very cheap, effective way to keep on top of your budgets. There's been examples in rural New South Wales in the past where councils have chosen to reallocate monies away from their reselling programs, and what they've found is it's cost them millions of dollars later on to then go and rehabilitate the pavements underneath. So it's a really key thing to take away from today's session. In terms of rural road maintenance too, if you don't grade your roads, the rutting, the potholing that forms, the water sits in them, you will lose the quality of your pavements underneath, and then it becomes an expensive exercise again to maintain that asset. I guess I touched briefly before that the main cause of a pothole on a sealed road is a crack that appears. So the bottom left-hand picture shows it, just a typical crack starting to appear, which allows that water in. Once that water's in, the actions of traffic and the actions of freeze-thaw during colder months shake out that material from underneath. The fines come up, and then the whole top of the road surface then is compromised. So I guess it's imperative that the maintenance and renewal of the wearing course is your highest priority for council. That's going to ensure that the maximum pavement life is realised from the pavement below, and you're, I guess, ensuring that the whole of life costs of that pavement are maximised. You're ensuring that the level of service you're providing for your communities are high, and you're ensuring the integrity of the network. In terms of managing community expectations, Wagga Council, my last employer, used a risk-based defect priority scoring system where they go around inspecting the roads, collecting data with handheld software, identifying where there's cracks, where there's failures in their road pavement at the moment, and then being able to send out their crews to restore the road. Potholes in the Wagga area are currently filled by one of three materials, a bitumen emulsion with a 5 or 7 mil pre-coated aggregate, or they use hot asphalt, AC10, or coal mix. And I've got some pictures of those. The picture on the right-hand side is a way that we measure rutting in a road. It's really just a straight edge, and you're measuring the gap that forms in the wheel rut. And once it hits a critical gap, you know that you need to do something about it because it's going to hold water. A little bit hard to see, and I'm squinting at my own slides here, but these are the intervention requirements of Wagga City Council. So that's you know, they're triggers to go out and make sure that they're attending things. I think they've got, as soon as a pothole reaches 300 mil wide and 75 mil deep, that's where they intervene and make sure that they're out there fixing those types of defects. The photos on the right is typical, showing a cold mix or a hot mix seal, which is what we call throw and go. So they bring black bitumen that has stone within it, that's at a viscous level that allows you to work it into the holes, and they roll and tamp it into the holes. Photo there is of a typical pothole that meets those requirements to intervene at Wagga City Council. So, you know, your asset inspectors pick up on these defects and you record them and then send the crews out to fix them. A photo of cold mix asphalt on the left-hand side and hot mix asphalt on the right-hand side. It's a little bit harder to obtain hot mix asphalt, and it's a little bit more expensive than cold mix asphalt. You can only order it in small batches, and it comes at temperatures up to probably about 120 degrees, and it's got to be worked while it's at those high temperatures. So you've got to purchase it and use it straight away. Most rural councils use cold mix, which is on the left, which is able to be used over probably a 4 to 5 day period once it's baked. And that gives your crews time to get out there on your longer road networks and be able to fill in as many holes as you can. So it's a common that cold mix is used, probably more than hot mix in rural areas. There's been a lot of studies done that show that actually cold mix actually works a little bit better than hot mix. Hot mix gives you a flusher finish straight away, but cold mix actually lasts longer over time. So most rural councils have probably got their priorities right by using cold mix asphalt anyway. The photos below show Wagga Council's jet patching trucks. You've probably seen these ones with the snorkels out the front, or they've got different machines that allow you to throw and go out the back. Beauties of these machines is you can use the machines without having roads under traffic control, hence you can get a lot of work done at lower cost base. What that machine does is it spits out that emulsion and fine stone mix. We got a lot of complaints, I guess, at Wagga Council that material wasn't lasting as long as some of the cold mix patches and the like. But when you're in a situation that your road's falling apart after major rain events and that sort of thing, this technology allows you to get out there and fix and restore the road so that they're in a safe condition quickly, and it's really cheap. So this is 10 times less the cost of going out and doing your patching with your cold mix, and therefore you could go back 10 times using this as opposed to the other method. Essentially, fixing a pothole with one of these costs you about $26 per hole. Whereas your cold mix, you know, patches that you just throw it into it, probably around the $100, sorry, about $150 per hole. But if you cut the patch out and spend the time, you know, getting the edges all right, it's probably about $600 per hole, about 10 times as much as what this machine does. So this machine allows you to get round and keep your road network in check, particularly in those adverse weather conditions, and they're a very reliable, good way to do road maintenance. I'll just finish up with a few recommendations. Each year there's a shortfall in road maintenance and renewal funding. I guess is not maintaining our road networks. This leads to deterioration of the networks, and therefore you've got a funding gap. Now, all councils are dealing with this. There's no simple solution, but I guess as practitioners, we're always recommending, looking for alternate funding streams to be identified and implemented where appropriate. These could be special rate variations, additional grants, diverting revenue, looking at any realistic alternate funding streams. Not easy, hard conversations to have with your community. There's priorities, all across our council areas. But because your road network is probably your biggest asset class to manage, and it's so dynamically adversely impacted by weather events, if you don't keep on top of it, you could find yourself in significant financial strain. So looking to have available funding to throw at your roads is a good thing. Councils should continually to explore new machinery and products to help with any productivity and efficiency gains. You've got to make your limited dollars work as hard as they can. Our bitumen suppliers and asphalt suppliers at the moment are producing durable, stronger, longer lasting products that incorporate recycled materials. We should be looking at those. A lot of polymer modified binders are now available where they put recycled bitumen into pavements, and that keeps the elasticity of the bitumen available for longer, so it makes it more resilient to the weather events and letting water in. So that's always a great a thing for your engineers to be focused on. And that's the end of my presentation. And it's always easier to, I guess, take questions and answers. I actually didn't know what you needed information on, apart from a quick email from the board that said focus on these couple of things. I'm happy to take questions in regard to anything to do with road maintenance.
So Phil, we've got some good questions in the comment section that we might start off with before everyone can raise their hand, or continue to use the comment section if that works best. So our first one was from Shane. Are those costs a national average or specific to your council?
Yeah, I answered that as I went through. These are just the numbers that I've worked in on jobs over the last couple of years in my employment. They're not national based figures, but they'd be fairly close to the mark. And if you need some ballpark figures to get you away with, they're pretty close.
Excellent. We've got another one here on resealing roads in Leeton have been released, but each year the seal melts. Is that a common problem in your experience? How can it be avoided?
So when a seal melts, when bitumen seal goes out, they put additives in it, such as bitumen cutters, which is like a kerosene-based thing, and that makes the bitumen more viscous to be able to put down, bind your stones in. But the adverse impact of that is that material then leaches out and fatties up the top surface. So the best available solution is do your reseals in the prime hot temperature conditions. That way you don't need to add as much cutter, so minimise the amount of cutter that goes into your bitumen mix. That solves the problem. When you do have fatty, greasy surfaces, your maintenance crews will be out there spreading either thin layers of sand or crusher dust, and that absorbs that material that's coming out and takes away the slipperiness of the surface.
Excellent. We've also got another one here. Could you speak more on the importance of rural road drainage? That's always a popular topic, isn't it?
Yeah, drainage is critical on rural roads. You need to get water away from your pavements. I said before, your maintenance grading is trying to get the sheet flow that runs off your road straight into your table drains. Always make sure you've got deep, clean table drains that take the water to creek lines or wherever the outlet point is. If those table drains are blocked, then the water again is sitting up against the side of your road pavement and filtering through your pavement layers. Once that pavement layer is wet and fails, then you need to go and probably replace it, stabilize it, or do a treatment on it, which is an expensive way. So if you can get your drainage right, clean your table drains, and then keep the shape of your road so that water sheets off. That's the best strategy to ensure the longest life of your road.
Excellent. We've also had a request for people to get a copy of your presentation, which we absolutely can share that after we conclude today's webinar, if that's okay with you, Phil.
Yep, absolutely.
Another question we have is, good to hear your comment re the false economy of dry grading. Have been having that argument for years with ratepayers and elected members.
Yeah, I guess tried and tested. I've seen both methods used, and we've done some tests on that practice, and we clearly demonstrated back at Gundagai Shire Council, we changed the way that we did our operation. So we went and changed the way that we did things, and we saw the benefit financially. So yeah, tried and tested. It definitely is the way to put down your gravel pavements.
Excellent. Do we have any more comments from the floor now that we've completed the comment section comments and anyone would like to ask? The presentation's covered so much, Phil. Everybody's well informed.
That's good. I really didn't know what you needed. And I've just, just based on my own practical experience, put together a few notes based on where I've been and what works for me. Very happy to field questions via Joseph or whoever and provide any additional information about road stuff that you need. Anything that helps the industry out. I mean, sharing knowledge like this, having a group like this where you can, learn from your peers is always valuable. So I'm very happy to help. That's what it's all about, help each other in local government.
Couldn't agree more, Philip. And this is the beauty of this forum and the creation of why we started CRLG to, support forums like this to bring people together to share knowledge. And there's a lot of opportunities we face and a lot of challenges we face, and being able to have a forum to come together to discuss all of that is, fantastic. So just a final one from me. Now that we've concluded question time, obviously thank you to everybody for attending. A huge thank you to Phil on behalf of our board. So pleased to have you here. Your presentation, as everyone's noting in the comments section, was absolutely brilliant. It's been our pleasure, and we'd also like to let people know that we'll be having another webinar in November. This time it'll be on accounting in bush councils, another interesting topic. So we'll be going over the options for accounting and complexities that local government sector faces when it comes to accounting and finances. So encourage you to sign up to that, stay on the journey with us, and we'll continue to grow this forum to keep achieving, shared knowledge, which is fantastic.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you all later. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.